Right, so let's do a quick review of the general market. Right now, we're looking at Bitcoin. I know it's been weeks. We've been sitting in the same area for quite some time since the beginning of February, just consolidating, also building some sort of accumulation. As you can see, we have broken structure to the upside here. So, pretty clear indication that price may want to continue slightly higher, depending if we can, break more structure to the upside, break above these highs, get into this area here. This is distribution right here. So, we do have to break above that. And then, of course, this is another, wall that has to be broken through as well. So as long as we can continue to see more accumulation, more breaks of structure to the upside, that's going to give us more evidence as we move forward. And the entire reason why we're even considering looking for buys here is, of course, you know what they say, look left to get right. As you see here on the left, we have massive accumulation over several weeks. How long was this? Like 36 weeks of price breaking structure to the upside, to the downside. But at the end of the day, not really making any new highs until finally we broke some structure right in here. So very clean textbook accumulation schematic. Over several weeks, price can do this. Be prepared for this at any time. But for the most part, as long as you follow the rules and, don't let emotions control the narrative, then you can have the success that you need and that you want. The market takes from the impatient and gives to the patient. That's been stuck with me since day one. And as time goes on, you'll learn to have that patience. But hey, whatever works for you. At the end of the day, each person has their own psychological narrative. But that's Bitcoin. Ethereum right in here. Again, same type of situation with Ethereum. We're looking for price to move to the upside as well. We barely got that break of structure right there. And so price needs to break above these highs. Once you break above these highs, break more structure to the upside, that's going to give us more evidence of bullishness. Otherwise, price will respect these highs. Price will respect this and continue selling lower. If price does want to go lower, it would have to really break beneath these lows here. For a full body candle would have to break beneath these lows for me to be convinced that price wants to go lower. But in the meantime, we are in a accumulation. So we're waiting for the same thing with Bitcoin on Ethereum. Let's get into gold. Gold is giving discounts. This is what I like to see. I like to get into buys after price sells off significantly. It's better to wait for that to happen. You want to wait for all the other buyers who were in beforehand to get wiped out. That's liquidity needed for price to make its moves. And right now we're retesting previous structure right here. Previous structure, boom. This is an area where I'd start looking for, price to reverse and start heading back to the upside. If it wants to go lower, fine. Even if it does go lower, we still have these lows here. That's liquidity. If price wants to sweep these lows before heading higher, that's fine. I know price likes to sweep liquidity before making its move. And if that's not enough, we have structure here. Right. So right underneath these lows, there's another area for price to potentially retest and give us some sort of accumulation schematic to prove that these levels are actually valid. Right. You can mark up all the lines you want, but if there's no accumulation schematic in your buy zone, then maybe that's not the zone that it wants to use. If it wants to go lower, fine. Wait for the next setup. No worries. Same thing on silver. Again, price didn't quite retest the area. It may want to. Price may want to retest. It doesn't have to, but I like where we are. these lows. That's more liquidity. And I like how it's so close to each other, right? Same thing with gold, how the liquidity and the retest, it's like right there on top of each other. So, hey, do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do. But that's next week. Buy limits for sure. Get your buy limits ready this weekend for metals. Let's look at, that was oil. What's up with oil? Yeah, I was trying to catch it back here. The gap up, absolutely insane. Not even one chance to get in, at least down here. You know, I wanted to at least get something in there. Couldn't get that, but we did retest the structure right in here. Major structure on the higher time frames. When I go to the monthly, right, that's crazy work. This monthly candle closes in 10 days anyway, so that'll be a good confirmation. If you break above these highs or break above the structure from previously, that's good. We've been trending down for quite some time, but there's more structure here. So we got some situations. We're looking at, I'm not gonna get into that one. Let's look at NAS. I know everyone's talking about indices. It's selling off. So in the meantime, you know me, I'm holding buys long term. So yeah, sales completely valid at this moment. We just closed on the weekly again to the downside. We broke more structure to the downside right here. I know the previous weekly candle, we didn't quite close beneath these lows. So, I mean, if you're in buys at that point, maybe that's still valid for you. And maybe you're using these lows here, same thing. I had these lows marked up for quite some time because I was expecting price to break above these highs. All it did was sweep liquidity and then sell off. So I was going to use these lows as my stop loss. Since the buys never got validated, I still kept these lows as an area where, hey, if price breaks below this, then it's a high chance that price wants to go lower. But of course, you know, the previous weekly low still here. But the price would have to recover from where it is now and break above the previous week, which would be these highs. This would be, once the new candle opens right here, then the previous week would be these highs. So within, who knows how long it'll take, but price would have to recover these highs without breaking beneath these lows, or these lows if you used it for your original stop. But yeah, that's NAS. More movement to the downside for now. I know right here we're also resting above previous accumulation, right? This is a high. We broke above full body candle, and you know, stop loss for these highs. You most likely have your stop loss right here, right? Once price broke above, you know, here, you could have used these highs. Price did its thing, and right now we're retesting this accumulation schematic here. So who knows? Next week we really could recover, but we would need to see some sort of accumulation schematic. Right now we're on the weekly. Let's go down to the daily. Break of structure to the downside as well. I'm looking for accumulation anywhere. Are there any breaks of structure to the upside on any time frame right now, currently? And as we can see, there's not, right? We're breaking structure to the downside, breaking beneath these lows. Let's go to the 1 hour. All right, the 1 hour has a break of structure. 1 hour has a break of structure right here. Boom. That's the first sign that price wants to go higher, but of course we need to break above, you know, these highs up here. We need to, first of all, break above this. This is the next obstacle. We have to break above these highs, and then we have to break above these highs. And you know, as we break above more highs, and once you go to higher time frames, those are the more specific highs that need to be broken above. You know, you go to the daily, you look here, like, okay, now it's this high, and so on and so forth. You go to the weekly, you're like, okay, yeah, we need to break above these highs. So just wipe out the noise and see, okay, what's the actual high that matters? And more often than not, it'll be on the higher time frames, but always start from where that first break of structure occurs. You can use the 1 minute, you can use anything below, you can use any time frame you want, depending on your trading style, but just know at the end of the day, the higher the time frame, the stronger the weight is of that trade. The heavier the weight is of that break of structure or sweep of liquidity, it just holds more weight because it's on a higher time frame. So that's why we call it top-down analysis. When you're in doubt, zoom out. Look at the higher time frames. Always start there and then work your way down. And that's how you keep your mind from being stuck or on a certain bias or a certain mindset or a flow state. When in doubt, zoom out. Look at the entire picture. Clear the chart. Clear it every day. Start fresh every day. If you can't clear the chart every day, then mark it up from scratch and just look at exactly what you need to look at with full confidence. Then we need to have a one-on-one session. We need to have a conversation. And that's fine. I'm here to help you get to that point. So that's the review. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Let's get it. Enjoy the weekend.